All right, so here we're going to start going into the data. It's going to get sciencey. I'm going to say that outright, but I want to get it to be sciencey so that I can give an unbiased, basically how I would present actual data about something in the science realm, and I'm going to put that towards the possibilities of Elder Scroll population and looking at trends. And I'm going to take a very ecological approach to this. So if you don't like science, you don't like statistics, you don't like approaches in this manner, sorry, this is what it's going to be. And this is the best I can do because this is in my wheelhouse. So in the world of science, we're going to start this at the bedrock. In the world of science, if you don't have the possibility to get an all-encompassing count, we find it completely acceptable and status quo in the field to take a sample of the perceived population, and you do not need to have the whole population, but as long as you can repeat trends within your samples, we find that is a justified way to come out with the hypotheses as well as an actual ending and a statement at the end and an answer, as much as you want to use the word answer for science. So, since we know MMOs do not give out their population, since we know that they won't do that, what we can do is we can use things like Steam databases and Google Trends, compare, contrast, and then use them as sample sizes to observe trends, and then compare to similar sample sizes and trends of other games. And then with that, we can see, one, how is the population looking? And two, are we in trouble or is it going down? So first, not everyone launches on Steam. You do not have to launch on Steam. You can launch on Epic Games. You can launch through Steam, and you can launch through just an internet launcher. Steam was brought about later on. We can literally look at the life of it. As you can see from the beginning, there wasn't a lot of people using it because you could just launch it online. And if you were an OG PC player, why would you switch? Until, it just got easier when they got the big spikes. But regardless, it was added later, so not everyone uses this. And that's why I said before that we're going to be using this as a sample of the community, of the population, to make inferences about the trends of the whole. Now, this looks healthy. This doesn't look awful. This, you can see there's a slight downtrend. This is 3 months. Then there's 6 months. There's a definitive downward trend. 1 year, again, a definitive downward trend when we get to the right. It peaked at the free week, and then it hit another peak at the release of Gold Road, and then instantly went down. At the 3 years, you can see we have pretty big ebb and flows here. And then it drops off. And then 6 years, like I always say, and anything else when we're comparing populations, there's no reason to compare it to 2020 and 2019 because that was lockdown numbers. We had 50,000 people logging on Steam because it was lockdown. Why wouldn't you? But as you can see, still, compared to that, there is not another part of this chart that hits as low as we are, besides right there exactly a year ago. But we're still lower than that. So we are still at the lowest point of the 6-year chart. So the life of the game on the Steam launcher, as far as I'm concerned, because once you break past 6 years, this is everyone's still getting acclimated to it. So I feel like 6 years is healthy enough. That's all the way back in 2018. So going off of this, we are at the lowest point already. So just going off of this is the sample size towards the population, we are definitely in a depression of player base because the depression is this overall trend of it's lowering. Our peaks are getting lower. Our valleys are getting deeper. Our peaks are under 30K now where they were over 30K last year. And then the year before that, they were mid 30Ks. And the year before that, of course, they were even higher. But now that we are getting out of that, we are in a depression and we are in a downward depression tick. So we are at a deep point of a depressing trend. Now, that isn't a killer. It's not something deadly. It's not something that's impossible to come back from. Look at World of Warcraft right now. But that's how that is. Now, we can compare this with other things like this. Okay, so this is a Google Trends site. So this is the past day. This is the past 30 days. And basically this tells us how popular and the peak times that people are looking up stuff. And like, as this will show us, click on help. Numbers represent the search interest relative to the highest point on the chart for the given region and time. 100 is peak popularity, 50 is half as popular, 0 is there was not enough data. So when you're looking at stuff like this, so like peak popularity was on August 25th, September 1st, September 2nd, September 7th, things like that. And so this really falls in line with, I mean, pretty straightforward. Like, it's going in the flow of like a week, which makes sense because the game's popping off on the weekends because MMOs are for adults at this time. So this is 30 days of ups and downs. Now we're going to take it back and we're going to look at 5 years. Here's the 5 years look like chart, right? Peak popularity in 2020. And then we come back to our chart here, which is over 6 years. So we're going to have a little bit of a tail over here. But peak popularity, April 2020. We're going to get back onto this. Peak popularity, April 2020. So both of our charts here they coincide in shape and trend, right? We have peak popularity back here in around April 2020. And then we start to, have some rocky times. And then we're in this now downward, a little bit of hump right here, but downward trend. So this is the popularity of the Google searches incorporating COVID. Now, as I've said, I don't think we should incorporate COVID. So we're going to do a custom time because they don't want to give us a 3-year. So we're going to go from, instead of 2024, of course it wants to do that. We'll do from 2021. We're going to cut off that big hump back there. Now, this looks a lot nicer because now we can see, without COVID in the way, that the peak time was June 3rd, 2022, which would have been High Isle. So High Isle was peak popularity, which, I mean, is honestly kind of shocking to me. I liked it. I thought the zone was fun. I thought a lot of the stuff they implemented was pretty cool, but I didn't think it was going to be the most popular here. But regardless, so going off of post-COVID, our peak popularity hit in High Isle and has been a downtick since. If we click back again here, and since we're going back to 2021, we can use the 3-year. And it will bring this a little bit further back. July 2021, a little bit further back. So we can get that June release in here. January, there we go. And, the Steam charts show us close to that. Peak around April, and then a downtick since. So again, we can see that our charts are working together. So coming from an analytic point of view, we can trust these charts because this is two separate sites that are both viable, backed. They offer metadata. They are completely credible ways of looking up trends and populations on their respective games and categories. So seeing that both charts are the same, we can now move forward saying that these trends coincide with each other, although this is for all internet searches for The Elder Scrolls Online, and this is for Steam launches. Now again, you can launch another thing, so these numbers are not hard numbers, but that's why we are using this as a sample of the population, and this is a trend of the population as a whole. So we can see that these two are working together. Now moving from there, we can definitively say right here that there is a downward slope of players and player engagement of the game. And it's been happening since around April of this year. Now, could that be because Gold Road didn't do well? We'll talk about that in a minute. So let's move forward from here and let's look at the popularity of Elder Scrolls compared to the other expansions. So here are, blue is Gold Road, orange, red is Necrom, yellow is Greymoor, green is Ellesmere. Now, I did not expect Ellesmere to have such high engagement over time. I really didn't see that coming. Now, Necrom, I definitely seen that as I assumed this was going to be the most popular because of how popular and how much the Arcanist was like slated to be a game changer because of it being the only class, and they really push it forward of being the only class that had a free aim skill. The book. Fate Carver is the only skill, and was the only skill at the time, where like you used your mouse to aim. And I thought that was going to be really interesting, and apparently so did everybody else. Now, while looking at this, we've got Greymore here in yellow. It peaked a long time ago. It came up, it kind of fell off. Now, elsewhere, it continues to be kind of popular this whole time, and I'm not 100% sure why. Maybe it's because dragons are so good at, you can still farm and get heroism pots. I'm not 100% sure, but when you look at the popularity of everything, the absolute lowest popularity in terms of time of engagement and peak is Gold Road. So, like, Greymore popped off and only hit 70 there. And Gold Road hit 73. But, like, Greymore at least kept fittering on for a while. And Gold Road stopped. Now, of course, it's hard to say because that's like fucking January. It's over 6 months out from when it came out. And we are not 6 months out from Gold Road being out. So we kind of have to give Gold Road, you know, a little bit of leeway there. But overall, Gold Road is just a much, I mean, Greymore clearly wasn't the most loved chapter, but like Gold Road hasn't been performing well as a chapter in terms of online trend popularity. And when you compare that and put it on with the popularity of the game right now and the player base going down. So given the trends around Gold Road, I don't really think it's fair to say that Gold Road is the issue, because it doesn't look much different than Greymore. And looking at the other charts, Greymore wasn't a point of issue for the actual playership of the game. I will say that I think that the reason it's an issue is because it's being exacerbated by, we were already in a downward trend. We were already losing popularity. We were already losing player base. People were already leaving. And then Gold Road coming out and not giving us that amount of content that everyone was looking for, and that was, as I personally feel, was promised by the devs. I just feel like this is why a lot of people are leaving. A lot of in-game players are on their way out. And I feel like the updates that have come up afterwards, Update 43 gave us housing tours, which is not new content, and didn't give us anything in the ways of new content outside of Infinite Archive, which Infinite Archive is an arena of not new content. It is old content put in a different place with a green filter on it. It is not new content. So, Update 43 gave us nothing new. Gold Road barely gave us anything. It was like a trial and then a bunch of sets that no one's using in a zone that's barely populated. And then on top of that, Update 44 is not going to be any new content. They're going to restructure Battlegrounds in a way that is going to be detrimental to a lot of people, as we talked about on my Update 44 patch notes video. But whether or not people are going to like it or not, it is really a niche community there. And even more of a niche to play Battlegrounds. People will do it for their daily reward coffer, and then that's kind of it. I've ran into a few people that claim that they're like steadfast, like diehard Battlegrounds players, but I've never actually like been in a guild or personally known someone that does that. So Update 44 is another one that's going to be not new content for everybody. And then moving forward from that, they have nothing on their website and nothing posted and nothing listed about any sort of new content moving forward. So this trend is likely to continue. Now, with this, we can now also compare it to other games on the trend site to see how we have stacked up to others throughout the time. Now, in this, red is Final Fantasy, yellow is Elder Scrolls, blue is Old School RuneScape, and green is World of Warcraft. Now, I included Old School RuneScape because I feel Old School RuneScape is a great litmus test for a number of reasons, but mostly because the old school community is the type of community that literally will not let a game die. That's what they do. That's their favorite shit. And as you can see in this chart, old school just stays in there, stays in the race the whole time. It peaks above most other, like, it's just huge. It's crazy. At one point, it was like the most searched thing last year in November. Old school, 96% of the popularity that month. Wild. Now, of course, up here, Final Fantasy is a heavy hitter. Final Fantasy, I have many friends that play Final Fantasy. They absolutely love it. I feel like Final Fantasy is one of those MMOs that if you play it, that's all. Like, that's it. That's your MMO. You don't fucking step out. Old school is more of a diehard community where, like, they'll play Elder Scrolls and they'll play World of Warcraft and they'll play Final Fantasy, but you know they've got a tab open and they're fucking sidestepping fucking moss giants. Like, that's what they're doing. Elder Scrolls, we've never broken any of their popularities. We've never, like, we surpass old school at one point, but for the most part, we are the least Googled and least popular game across all of it. And that's to be expected, because when we're in the discussions about big MMOs, they usually don't even add us into the argument a lot of times. Here, we'll actually add in Guild Wars 2. It'll be purple. Look at that. And Guild Wars 2 is typically, like, the game that we are most talked about being in contention with. People go, oh, if you don't like Guild Wars 2, you'll like Elder Scrolls. Or, oh, you don't like that, you'll like this. And it's usually between us two. And I see people compare the two games a lot. And I mean, that makes sense why we're in the same realm. Now, World of Warcraft is really hard to put into the league with against any of us, because World of Warcraft, I know a lot of people like to, like, mock them for saying that they have so many players, or, like, but everyone has to understand, World of Warcraft at one point had more players than some countries had people. Like, World of Warcraft, from the size that it was, it downsized tremendously since, like, I was the kid. But even a tremendous downsize still makes it an absolute giant. So, if we're looking at the popularity of these games, Elder Scrolls, again, in comparison to all of the other major MMOs, especially now that we have Guild Wars 2 on here, we can see that we are also in a downward trend here. And to the point where Guild Wars 2 actually broke past us last month. Now, I think they just had a new game come out. But, like, we can literally see right here, June, when Gold Road came out, and it's a straight downward tick from there. So, all of these trends, all of these comparisons, and everything else lets us see that at the end of the day, Elder Scrolls is not in a healthy spot. Now, we know this because of the Steam charts. We know this because of Google Trends and comparisons. And with all of this combined, we can truly get into the reality. And that is, we are not gaining popularity. We are losing popularity. And now it's on to the question of what can we do about that? So, now that we've seen everything, and now that we know what's going on, and we've seen the trends, we've seen the engagement and the population trends, and we compared everything to other games, how do you guys feel this stacks up in your opinion to your realm? Are you on PC NA and you've noticed it as well, or have you not noticed it at all? I personally noticed it because when I queued up as a tank, I had a wait timer right before the event started, and that usually never happens. And I was on at peak time on a Friday and still had a wait timer. Now, along with that, I've had several of my in-game guilds completely fall apart since Gold Road because we ran out of content to do and people left to go play other games. And on top of that, I'd like to continue with the understanding that I don't think that Gold Road, this isn't me piling on top of Gold Road and saying, fuck Gold Road, it sucks. I'm not a fan of it. I thought it was the worst chapter of the game. I think Update 43 and 44 have both been garbage. 44 is not something I'm looking forward to. I think it's going to make the player base leave even more. I think that the battleground changes are short-sighted, and they're just like how I feel the Infinite Archive changes were, where they just remapped and took things from other parts of the game and shoved it in there to shut people up. I don't like it, but that's my personal opinion, and I don't hound on it about it because I have a lot of personal opinions about the game that I feel a certain way about. But I don't think it's fair to blame it all on that, because of the fact that the gaming industry has had some fucking heavy hitters come out lately that have been fucking great. Space Marines 2 is fire. Black Myth Wukong has been fucking dope. Everything from fucking Valheim updates to the War Within to fucking everything has just been so good all summer. Like, it's just been a great summer for fucking gaming. And I feel like that took a toll on Elder Scrolls, because Gold Road came out and it wasn't a good expansion. It just wasn't. Scribing skills weren't what they were promised, and 43 was a shitty update. No one that I know fucking cares about housing tours, and everyone I see in Zone Chat blames housing tours for bad servers, which I don't think that's true, but it's a really funny fucking myth. But going off of that, it's like we've just had a bad update and a bad expansion. When it came time to, we were already in a depressive state population-wise and engagement-wise, and then just a couple heavy hits in a bad time, along with all of these other games being a fucking great time. Like, it was just it's been a rough year for Elder Scrolls. So, what do you guys personally think could turn this around? Do you guys think that we could implement new in-game stuff? Do you think they should focus PvP? Do you think we need a Cyrodiil rehaul? Like, what do you think we should do that will really grab everyone that left and bring them back in? Or do you think we should continue down the path that Elder Scrolls has been doing, where we don't focus in-game, we focus on new game, and we make it more accessible to new players instead of playing towards the old players? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. As always, I love you guys so much. Thank you for checking out the video, the channel, sitting with me with my nerdy analytics and ecological approach to these charts and the data. And I will see you guys next time. Love you so much. Have a great day.